an Adivasi artist himself. And talking to him, the seed of the idea just kind of my mind was seeded, because he spoke of the, his community back home in Gadchiroli, how they were caught between the state and the Naxalites, and how this art was completely dying because of lack of any infrastructure, buyers, or any. So he shared this desire that can he get some of his people here. So just with 3 people from his home, 3 artisans, under this very tree, Devrai Art Village was born. And since then, I feel there is no pre-planned idea which we follow, but I feel it has its own energy, its own momentum, and I never thought it would overtake my life in such a big way. But now we have about 50 craftsmen from people and women. We are focusing on women and people from not only Gadchiroli, but Chhattisgarh, from across the border. They have also joined a variety of art forms. And that's the beginning.
Okay, ma'am. So how did you encourage these people from the tribal areas to actually come down all the way from Chhattisgarh and Gadchiroli to Maharashtra and make them, feel comfortable and encourage them to take up this art form? And, I know that they come and stay here for an entire year and have seen them actually making such wonderful.
Yes, you've been here. Yes, you've been here. So you have interacted with them. So, it was, I must say, if I hadn't met Suresh Pungati, I would have had no connect with that world. And slowly, by word of mouth, when they saw their own people feeling happy about what they were doing here, a sense of pride in their work, not just livelihood, but, that joy of creating something and creating an identity of their own. So these stories got shared. And then we started getting requests from more people. And even then apprenticeship program started. So in fact, from Gadchiroli, most of them are first generation learners. And now this year, with the government help from the government, we are doing this entrepreneurship and skill development program, where under which we are training 50 craftsmen and women from all over Maharashtra who come and live in Panchgani, and they learn, and in turn they will go back and inspire more people to have their own livelihood ideas, which are, and the main thing what I feel what we are striving to do is give them livelihood options which are culturally aligned to their lifestyles. I mean, it's not that you teach them something which they're completely alien. And at the same time, there's a need for sustaining these indigenous and art forms. Otherwise, if there's no artist, how can you sustain the art? Yeah, and especially our Indian art, it's a living art. You cannot preserve it like a museum piece. So you have to sustain the artist. So this kind of interdependence is what finally, Devrai Art Village happened with this.
Yes, ma'am. And I think these tribals and the rural people are so well versed with what is there surrounding them that I think they automatically have an eye for the creativity and the artistic eye, we can say, to find something in their nature. And it is absolutely a great idea. And one of the things that I found in your Devrai Art Village was the Dhokra Art, which was, I think it was a stone, and then
Yes.
you had mixed brass thing with it.
Yeah, so I realized that, yes, if you want to sustain your heritage, you cannot preserve it like a museum piece. It has to evolve. It has to evolve with the times, with the aesthetic sensibility of the modern age. So, with that in mind, we started experimenting. Experimenting, keeping in mind the innate, the essential Indian spirit, but it should appeal to the whole world. So with that, we started, and that's how, see, Dhokra art, for those who may not know what it is non-ferrous metal casting using the lost wax technique. So you first make in wax, then you cover it with clay, and then I'll show you a little clipping later of the rock dhokra process. But first, a little bit about dhokra. And this is a very ancient art form of our country. It goes back to Mohenjo-daro times. They say the dancing girl was the first sample of metal artifact made using the lost wax technique. So that longer tradition, but from 5,000 years back till today, there has been no dramatic change. It's the same thing, which is same motives, same this, very beautiful. But there's a kind of repetition, which is, and hence it has lost its energy. And that's what I realized. I was horrified to know that in Chhattisgarh, an artist has to sell his artifacts by the kilo. So imagine, and then the middle person buys it, and then, so that is the tragedy. And if you want to save our heritage, this is what was at the back of my mind. So then this, like I had seen sculptures in metal and in stone. And since the craftsmen were here, we had our own kiln. We were actually making stuff here. I just thought that let's try to see if both can be fused together. And that's how Devrai Art Village, Devrai Rock Dhokra was born. And it is under patent process. And this has become our identity now, our brand identity. And this is what has given us all our appreciation, name, fame. And once you start experimenting, then there's no end. So then we started making what we call pot dhokra, fusion of pottery and this. Now we are doing ceramic and dhokra, and so on and so forth. So after you see the film, I'll show you some of the pieces which I have here right with me, just to tell you what rock dhokra is. But just have a look at the 1 minute film first.
Yes. Ma'am, can you see the screen deeply?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, it's black right now. I'm going to start with the video.
This is our reception. Yeah, what I saw was pretty fragmented. I don't know how the reception for others was. It was stopping in between. Anyway, so
I think it's best that people will come and actually visit and then learn live at your.
Sure. Yeah, I hope I'm able to attract more visitors, and yes.
Ma'am, I'm also sharing the link of the YouTube video that we just played with the audience in the Facebook comments. So I think everybody will have access to the video just in case it didn't play well. So I'll copy paste the link there as well.
Okay. So in the video, you saw how it all with river pebbles, because that is what can withstand the heat of molten metal which is poured. If you take softer stones, it breaks. And this we learned after a lot of experimentation. So finally, it was the river pebbles of the rivers here in Panchgani. Strange, I want to share a thing here that now our craftsmen are in Gadchiroli, and they're saying that the pebbles there actually break. So I don't know what is the composition here. It is often breaking there. So this time when they went home for this COVID thing, they had to go home. So they've carried pebbles with them so that they can continue to work there. So it is, Devrai Rock Dhokra has really become a local, this thing of Panchgani. Panchgani is its birthplace, and this is how, I suppose each art form develops according to the raw materials which are found there. And this, I realized this. So in the film, you have seen the big Nandi also being cast. See, when you are casting a small Nandi like this, now this is rock dhokra, this is stone, and this is all brass. It's easy because you can pick it out of the kiln. It's not very heavy. But imagine Nandi weighing 900 kilos. How do you hoist it out of the kiln? How do you pour about 200 kilos of molten metal? So we are constantly upping our challenges. So from small things, now we are making big things. We have a 12-foot statue installed in Delhi University Hindu college as well. So it's a winged human taking off from a pile of books, signifying that you have to go into nature, that's where you learn about life, and you get. So anyway, you saw the process, and I want to share something else, how we are evolving tradition. Now, this is a traditional motif, the Nandi, you see in all temples in front of the Shivling. But then a story was born in Devrai. Now, you see this. This is a dancing Nandi. And this dancing Nandi is praying to Shiva that, oh Lord, too long have I sat in front of you. I want to now match my steps with yours. I want to dance. So thus was created the motif, the icon of the dancing Nandi. So this is a story which, I created, but now I'm realizing that people are liking it. People are liking the thought, the feeling behind it. So the cosmic dance of Shiva and the Nandi sitting in front, first in total stillness and then joining with him. And so it's conveying a whole lot of things which words cannot express. And that's what I feel art is capable of doing. Things which language cannot express, things which is beyond expression, this kind of a thing then happens. So this is again rock dhokra, this is stone. See, it's standing on a stone, yeah. So much for rock dhokra. I think otherwise, once I start, I can go on and on. So you tell me what you want me to talk about.
Yes, ma'am. It was really beautiful. And as you said, it is very right that when people actually, if we go to see the rock paintings or the sculptures from Stone Age era as well, it was always a form of communication, a form of creativity, a form of expressing and communicating with others. So it was always like, people used to see something in nature, be it an element of, say, tree or a animal, and then they would go and do the painting on the rocks, and then let other people know that this is something what I saw in that jungle. And that is how people used to imagine. And I think that is how the art form came into being. And I think it is a beautiful form of meditation, that when you are actually doing any art form, it can be a pottery, a painting, or sculpture making. And it is always something I think you should always have a mindset ready for it, that today I want to do make, and you cannot just start making something. It should come from the heart. And I do a lot of paintings, and that's how I feel, it comes naturally, that your mind tells you that what is your mood and what is the thing what you want to express, and it actually showcases in your work.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, where ancient Indian art is concerned, it was a way of connecting with the divine. It was a sadhana, as they say. So where the individual artist loses his own ego, his own, and he completely immerses. That's why we don't know who was the artist behind the Elephanta Shiva, or who. So it is the dissolution of the ego, and that's how Kala and is seen as a means to reach God. And very different from what art is now, and in the West, it's where it is mainly, it's about individual creativity. But here it was aligning your creativity to the universal spirit to express that connect. I don't know if I'm being able to clarify, make it clear, but this is what I feel, where there's no, we don't know who the artist was, but the art speaks for itself. Yeah.
Yes. And it's been all these tribals and all have been doing it actually to worship or kind of an offering to the nature. So whatever they are getting from the
Yeah,
nature is
for
their way of.
indigenous arts, I feel it's become a part of their life. In fact, art
Yes.
is not some different activity, but they have art. So art, decorating their walls, beautifying life, and
Yes.
celebrating nature. So it was that. It wasn't a special activity that, it wasn't a painting to be hung on the in the showroom of your house, but it was the house itself. It was your way of living. So that is what is very fascinating about, especially I discovered, because my background in art is, I did my MPhil in French cinema, and then when I came to Panchgani, it was, I was exposed to Indian art through a documentary I made on River Krishna. I traveled right from here to Machilipatnam. So, and that's how my introduction, and then it was an enchanting zone. I was under a spell. So that's how I discovered. And this is what I feel, indigenous art is, it's actually, sometimes I feel it is very uh, wrong to categorize as tribal art and, other art forms, because I find that the craftsmen who come, some of them are not tribals, they are the OBCs, especially all the iron craft and even Dhokra. They're done by, Lohar is not a tribal, the one who does iron craft. So, even many people. So just to categorize this as tribal, and this is, I think, a legacy which we have sadly got from the British, who made these registered and registers and categorized them as tribals, non-tribals, this, that. Ours was a integrated, homogeneous whole, connected to the land, to the subcontinent as a whole. So that's how I feel that, it is more connected with the, and religion, or this is just a mere subset. There is that intrinsic connect with India when you say Indic culture. Uh, and too much of this tribal, non-tribal, this caste, that caste is it's it uh, it destroys the spirit. So
Yeah. And I think art is not confined to any religion or any caste. It is just a form which comes from your heart. And
yeah,
I think the influences that have let's create a form of art, or it is all influenced by your surroundings and the nature around you or the atmosphere. So it is more related to the geographical location where you are located rather than,
Absolutely.
yeah. So the kind of paintings that we use, or as you mentioned, the stones that we are using, or the background that we are using, it is all inspired from nature, and that is what art is all about. So it cannot be actually defined as tribal art or anything, as you said it rightly.
Yeah, for learning, or maybe these kind of divisions do serve a need for, but beyond a point, it shouldn't be too watertight compartments, I feel, which has done a lot of damage to, like the British, who did this divide and rule thing, and we are completely still following that. So it has done a lot of damage to our civili-
Civilization.
civilizational heritage. So, I feel this kind of dividing it into neat, this thing has done much harm to our.
And ma'am, this can actually help us, get rid of that societal strata or something that we have. Like, we are upper class and we belong to this caste and we are supposed
Yeah.
to do this activity and not do that activity. So I think when the idea behind us doing tribal tours or rural tourism is that people should go to these places, interact with them, understand their life, and ultimately understand that we all are human beings at the end of the day. So when we feel that we have all these degrees and we are a better humans, but then those people who are actually living there, they have much more understanding about the life than what we have, and they have so much to share with us, so they can be very small
Absolutely.
small things.
Absolutely. All these knowledge systems which we are little aware of, and we need to actually really, I feel, explore our roots. Only then can the tree flower and branch out. You have to be anchored to the soil and go deeper. And otherwise, you are rootless. And that's what we have become, completely deracinated, especially the education system, which was handed down by the British, and we adhered to it. So there's a need now to explore our roots. And yeah, so if I were to say that, when you talk of, since we are talking in the thing of tourism, of tribal tourism, I don't know if we should, because see, for them also, their life is changing. Forests are getting decimated. So they're not the same. Their aspirations are changing. So it is a very challenging, it's a big challenge, whether we should let them continue in their culture and this thing, or integrate them with the mainstream. It's a very big question, because, and now in this age of smartphones, how long will they remain in isolated pockets? And you see, all the apprentices who I interact with, it's, they know more Bollywood songs than their own songs. And that's the reality you have to really take into consideration. So do you want to keep them in isolated pockets of wilderness, tribal lifestyle preserve? You can't. First of all, you can't. Lifestyles are changing. Everything is changing. So in this, how do let them not forget what their values are? Yes. So in fact, when a group of 150 tribal students had come to a school there, I was teaching them English. But I made sure that I taught them English uh, through their stories, or some things which would make them go back to their own stories. So their own, first of all, their own sense of pride and their own this thing is encouraged. And it's not that अंग्रेजी बोलने नहीं आती तो तुम गवार, तुमको कुछ भी नहीं आता. So first we have to restore the pride in their own thing, and then English as a need of the hour. Yes, teach them so that they don't feel left out. But this is a very big issue, very big challenge.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a continuing question to what we were just now discussing. I think Devrai has positioned itself beautifully somewhere between the mainstream audience and the local artisan or the local tribesman who has a art form to create. So what I wanted to understand from you is beyond the tourism angle, you have also filled a gap where somebody from probably the designing courses like IICD or NID, or I think I'm sure there are lots of other colleges.
Yeah, yes.
You've kind of filled this gap or the void where people might not get a chance to actually go and learn Dhokra directly from the tribesmen from probably Gadchiroli or Chhattisgarh or wherever. And we have found this, fill this gap. So how
That's
does
what we are
Devrai,
striving to.
yes,
So Devrai has become like a bridge,
right, ma'am.
and where people from design schools and even other artists, like from people from JJ School of Art, people from abroad, artist residency. Like we had a metal artist from Australia who came and lived here for 3 months, and another one will be coming as soon as this thing opens. And so it's a question of synthesizing different things and creating something new. Synergy between not only in metal craft, new ideas, but also involving other art forms, whether it is now we have, till now we were using stone pebbles, now we are incorporating stone sculpture, carved stone. So that's how, organically we are growing. We are incorporating, we were doing on pottery. Now we are using ceramic tiles. And right now I'm evolving a ceramic tile with brass inlay work for big murals. So we can have tiles, like if you want to create a big tree of life, then you, while the ceramic, and we are fortunate to have an artist who's doing ceramics in Panchgani only. Kushalashi may be in the audience. So, while she's making the tile, she'll make those grooves where we'll put the wax threads. And then after casting, it will look like in Taj, you have that inlay work, but here it will be brass inlay on ceramic tiles. So see, this with constant inputs and this kind of eagerness to try out something, that's how we are growing, I feel. That is our main catalyst, yes. But one thing I must say, that I have to be always on the guard, that and people point out that, are you making a hybrid out of what is traditional, and like I don't know, those who are on the Facebook, I have shared a Picasso inspired pregnant goat done in rock dhokra. So sometimes, and here now see, this is yeah, I might as well share this now, since this is Apro Freddie Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury has studied in Panchgani, spent 7 years of his life. Now, not many people know this. So we wanted to kind of let the present generation know that here's an inspiring icon. And what a rebel he was, and what a perfect, this thing. So that's how you create, even for tourists. Little do they know, when they go to a place, you have to know about the stories of that place. Only then tourism can become interesting. Otherwise, it is what? It's just come and see this point, that point, and go back. In Panchgani, I'm talking about Panchgani. They come, they litter the place, but it is our responsibility that the tourists have to be given something inspiring. They need to feel the love for nature, the need for conservation. If you keep on saying don't litter, it works at a different level. But if the person who comes says, wow, I don't think he will put a plastic this thing there, or throw a Bisleri bottle on the slope where it will stay for ages. So slowly it will happen, but we need to do this especially in a place like Panchgani and Mahabaleshwar, which is a biodiversity hotspot and an eco-sensitive zone. We have to think of all these things, and that's what Devrai Art Village is also trying to do, to connect with nature through art.
I'm speaking about tourism and tourists. The one question that I think I want to bring up as a tour operator, and I'm sure Deepti will also have the same question. People have this tendency, especially as tourists, whenever they visit a landscape, wherever it might be, not just maybe Gadchiroli or Chhattisgarh, they like to pick up souvenirs. So, which is usually dubbed as the local handicrafts or the local produce, so to say.
Yeah.
So specifically, I think I'm sure you will be able to talk about a couple of the art forms that are found in India commonly, and how can people rather buy from the local artisan, supporting that actual tribesman or the local craftsman, rather than going to a souvenir shop, which is a cultivated one. So what are the things one can do, how to gauge, or how to reach out to the right person?
Yeah, so because usually one lands up going to places where these creations of the locals have turned into commodities, are being sold. There's a middleman selling. But so Devrai is different in the sense that here we are directly, whatever, it's a NGO, and directly whatever we earn through our sales, and we sustain ourselves through our sales. We are pretty proud of that we've been able to do that. So it goes back to is plowed back into the NGO and goes back as salaries and other things, raw material and all. But so you have to find people who are, whether NGOs or even government now, TriFed, they are selling tribal artifacts all over India. So, and they are directly sourcing from craftsmen. So one has to be a little careful, and nothing like going and meeting the craftsman. But it's not easy. It's not easy. So I think you could play a role there, how to give them information on what are the right sources. As far as Devrai is concerned, it is not so much kind of a souvenir. We have a little this thing, but it's more into artifacts and installations, things of utility, and right from small things to big things. So it's not a, but just now, in fact, now that you're talking about souvenir, what I'm doing now with the 3-4 girls who are here is creating wild flowers which grow here. You know, in Satara, there is this Kas Plateau, which is a World Heritage
UNESCO
site
World Heritage Site
for wildflowers. Yeah. So we are replicating this in rock dhokra and also in iron. In fact, I have something here with me. So now this is done in iron, and many of you may recognize those who are from Panchgani. This is what is the name? Yeah, it's locally called sap kanda because it raises its after the first few showers of rain, you have these orchid-like snake hoods popping up from the ground. So, but imagine now this is made with beaten iron. It is very easy to make comparatively to make in wax, but look at the skill which has gone into this. When you are replicating this, you have to beat the iron, strike the thing while it is hot. And these are the new leaves which are coming, and this is the so the tenderness of the new leaf which has just come out has been the artist has been able to do. So we have a fantastic iron craftsman from Chhattisgarh, and we also do fusion of iron and brass now. So because the melting point of iron is lower than that of brass, so we do waxwork on this and higher than. So we do all this kind of experimentation happens with, once you try to copy the essence of nature, then you have to devise means also. No? You can't just, so that's how nature is the best inspiration, I feel, and teaches you much more than any book or any other this thing.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Beyond imagination, you know, nature has variety. When we copy leaves, because we cast leaves also, the kind of texture and the colors and all, when you draw it and then you try to do it, you realize the variety.
And ma'am, nature itself has this property of healing. So you just sit in the forest or just in your garden for 5 minutes and you have a refreshed mind all by yourself. So the
Absolutely.
music that we hear and the leaves and the texture, the soil texture, I think every element of nature has a healing property in itself.
Yes.
So
So,
ma'am, yes,
yeah,
please.
that's how Devrai Art Village evolved. So when we got this land, we called it Devrai. And that time it was purely aspirational because it was a barren piece of land. Now we have about 2,000 plants, creepers and trees. And anybody who walks in here gets, sees how there is synergy between what is being produced and what the craftsmen are observing. So the direct connect is seen and they see the process. Whoever comes here, they not only see the finished product, but they interact with the craftsmen and see the whole process as well.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, I loved all those different kind of bamboos that are there at your entrance when we just come, and they are so beautiful. I have never seen a yellow color striped bamboo, and
More
also
than the yellow one, the giant one is actually, it was got from a local farmer here. And after much trial over 3 years, finally we were able to uh, grow it from a culm. And now it has become like really landmark of our land. And recently, when Atul, my husband, he went to that farmer's place, the mother tree itself has been um, taken out to make space. So with a JCB, they dug out the mother tree. So now this precious giant bamboo is there. We are propagating and distributing it with our friends. Also, very few we are able to do, but we are trying to. So this is the story of conservation in India. You know, you have to, more than giving information, you have to create the love for nature, because we know too much, we feel too little, I feel. That is the
yes.
thing.
Yes, actually. And that is what me and Aniket are trying to do, that let people feel from heart. And probably that's the name I have chosen, that it should be soulful journey, something that connects to your soul rather than just being a normal journey. And that is how the whole concept is all about. So, ma'am, I also want to ask, like, are there any small courses or apprenticeship or any workshops that our
Yes, all
students
the
can
time,
come and
all
come?
the time, all the time, we customize. So you can
Okay,
come in groups, like school groups come, uh, uh, or even college students and all come, but even individuals. And depending on what they are seeking, because you know there's no end to learning and the time available, we customize, and we have places of stay close by so they can stay. We also have an Airbnb at our place only, which can accommodate 2 people. But it depends on what you want to learn. So I just apart from metal craft and all, what right now we are also doing is this tumba craft. So tumba is a dried gourd. So till now, you know, they were using it for storing their mahua wine or water, this thing. But now and they would turn it into lampshades and all, which is being done. But now see, this is a flower vase. So this is the kind of innovation we are doing. So deer in iron, but this is a fire and it can store water. So you can put flowers here and this has become a flower vase. So we have incorporated iron craft. We sometimes also do this. Uh, so this kind of getting, as if, I always like to compare Devrai Art Village to a beehive, where you get the nectar of different flowers and you create your own honey. Talking of beehives, we also do beekeeping. That's another thing. So yeah.
Yes.
So were you asking me something particular?
No. I actually had seen this thing of that, we call it Dhokra, the dried god. And it was absolutely beautiful. And that person was actually doing the pyrography, designing on it. And
Yeah,
I was so
etching they
inspired.
do on this, and they create their own tools. That is one thing I must say. I was amazed the way these people create their own tools, is, and with basic primitive tools they make. Like for instance, this, you see, all this work is etching. So you heat an iron scalpel, and you, from a distance, you have to carve out all these things. This being a flowers, there are no holes. But if it is a lampshade, then you cut out holes in different patterns, and it gives out beautiful patterns of shadows on the wall when it is hung. So on the Facebook, I've shared quite a few of these things you can
Yes.
see.
So this is like
So we have
actually
also
doing a
incorporated,
recycling work of what we find in nature and just
yes, making use of their raw material to create something. That's what their tradition has been. They've been using what is available to them, and whether it is paints, you get it from the stones, and or with rice or whatever. That's how widely they, I mean, you don't, the means and the expression is all localized. Yeah.
yes. So, ma'am, what was that one incident during your probably your travel or somewhere which got you so close to the nature?
Uh, I think I grew up uh, where nature was part of our life, and I was uh, very lucky to be able to do that. I grew up in Gwalior, and all our family, our people are very fond of this wildlife and all. So
Ma'am,
it was that in childhood, this thing. And then when we shifted from Bombay to Panchgani, it was as if I found my calling, and Panchgani as if called us here. And then now we have struck roots here, and we've been living here. And we are very lucky that even the two children, Rudransh and Devansh, they have also found work which they are able to stay in Panchgani and do whatever. The younger one is a filmmaker, the elder one is a UX designer. So they have their own studio and their own their
uh,
laptop. So the world is close.
right. Ma'am, since you mentioned Gwalior, I have to ask you, can you share a vivid memory that you have from your childhood which has something to do with wildlife or nature?
Uh, See, Gwalior now, there's not, when I went to Shivpuri, I remember George Castle and the presence of tiger and the stories, because my aunt is Vanmala, who was in Shamchi Ai, for those who are familiar with Marathi cinema. So I have grown up with her, and she's the one actually who introduced me to films and art and all. So she used to say that, and those days they had these horse buggies, and once when they were going in that, the horses went berserk. They wouldn't come under the control of the person who was trying to hold. And sure enough, there was a tiger. They could smell the tiger. And when I was small, yes, in Gwalior, in our house only, we had the grand visit of the striped one. We saw the pug marks in the morning. That was when I was very, very small. but not a real this thing. And Panchgani, of course, no tigers here anymore. But when we had just shifted to Panchgani, we were staying at Dr. Nisarkar's bungalow, which is on the main road. And their dog, their Alsatian dog, was picked up by a leopard. So, and once that's how, in fact, that's the incident. Oh, yeah, which made us realize, both Atul and I, that Chodo Bombay, Bhago Ase. So we had come earlier days to Panchgani, to Mahabaleshwar. Atul's father was in the railway, so we were staying in the railway rest house in Mahabaleshwar, and we had gone for a night drive. And suddenly, the headlights fell on a leopard which was pouncing on a wild boar. Or everything for a moment, it froze there. So, and we were also looking from the car, itne pass. And that was it. We said, ki, bas yahin par aana hai. So when we came to Panchgani, it was quite a leap into the dark. I knew I could teach French, kuch to kar sakti hu main. But Atul ke liye, he's from advertising background, and for him it was really, and we came prepared that if it didn't work out here, we knew we will go back. But with God's grace, it's been 20 years, and now I think we'll be, the last end of our lives will also happen here. Yes. So that is the most thrilling moment. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing, ma'am. Sorry, Deepthi, go ahead, please.
Yes, yes. So it was like ma'am just found what was her purpose of life, and that brought her all the way from Mumbai and to Panchgani. So ma'am, let's start with some quick question and answers for you. So which is your favorite or preferred excursion place? So will it be forest, mountains, beach, or a city?
Or a city. City, definitely not. I think forests on the mountains. Not that the Himalayas have a different beauty altogether, but well, everything.
Sure.
No choice.
Which is your preferred genre of music? So is it Indian classical or jazz? Or any Western jazz?
Indian classical. I think that's what one started, since I'm from Gwalior, one had started doing, and recently now one is trying to revive that, at least to be able to sing, in old age now, if you can sing, it's a good thing.
Right. You're already an expert in this artistic field, but is there any art form that you wish to learn or explore?
Yeah, many in fact, but right now I really want to learn stone sculpting and ceramic pottery, because it will directly, we'll make use of it, what we are doing here. So stone sculpt, and we have got a stone sculptor on board. So for this government project, this entrepreneurship and skill development, we're also teaching stone sculpting. So we had to get a stones. That was one of my secret agendas, that let's get a stone sculptor here as well, and add a different look to our sculptures, what we are doing. Yeah.
Okay. So do you recommend any book that everyone should read?
Yeah, right now, actually, what I'm immersed in, because this is currently I'm connecting with Sri M. He is a mystic, but who leads a normal life. He's a married man, he runs a school, but he's had such amazing, mind-blowing experiences. So I'm working on a book called Imaging the Unimaginable, where I'm trying to express through Shiva and Buddha, and it's how it is expressed in art. See, Shiva is a concept of a god which takes a human form also, Shiva, Parvati, the whole family. What is it? How does it, what does it tell you about this? underlying civilizational values. And Buddha, who was a actual human being and who kind of refrained from talking about God, later turns into a God. You see in Mahayana and in Tantra art, there's a proliferation of Buddha images and all. And they say that Buddha sculpture was from where Indian sculpture, history of Indian sculpture, we start with the Buddha thing. So it's fascinating to talk about these two icons and through that explore India, what India means. And Sri M is guiding me. And in this book, which is The Journey Continues, actually it is a sequel to his previous book, Apprentice to a Himalayan Master, where he talks of his life, how he's from Kerala, how he goes to the Himalayas and finds his guru who he had met in childhood. So it takes you into a zone which is beyond the logic of our puny minds and all. It's the realm of consciousness. So strange things happen here. And here's a man who is living and who I have the good fortune of being in touch with to explore this thing. So I'm right now completely, imagine in this, he not only, like in the first book, he has talked about his present life, how he got initiated and how he learned. But in this, he talks about his past lives. And there's a chapter when he talks about meeting the Buddha himself. So, I mean, those who don't believe, they can take it as whatever. But for me, since I can talk to him, and it is a fascinating journey which he is described in this, which will certainly transport you to a different realm altogether. So this is the book. I think right now, because I'm working on it, this is, I would strongly recommend.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, you yourself have authored 2 books. So can you just quickly have a small poem of yours? I think you have written about Radha. And
yes, Radha poems. And then there's this another book which I had written actually as a script, modern day love story, and which has parallels with the Radha Krishna myth. And then finally I turned it into a book. So I would like to read a little passage from this. I think I need to go nice. For this book, the illustrations were done by my friend Kripa, and so she has depicted the mindscape of the protagonist rather than what is being referred to. And the last poem since it is in between a script and a story, it's pretty visually rich, and but the last passage what I will read is, there comes a time when you begin to read your own life as if it were a story. You meet yourself in a lane, shake hands, and walk away. So I think we've also come to the end of our program. I'm not walking away. I'm here in case somebody wants to ask anything, about whatever we have shared.
Yes, ma'am.
I would be delighted.
Aniket has something to ask to you. Over to you, Aniket.
Yes. Ma'am, there are a lot of comments on Facebook, a lot of appreciation, a lot of people saying hello to you. I think they are seeing you live after a long time and they just wanted to convey their regards. A lot of people are very inspired by the work that Devrai is doing. There was one particular comment that I wanted to bring out. Somebody has written saying they are looking to inculcate art as a part of the student curriculum in today's day world for students. And if you could somehow, guide them in how that can be done.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in that area. Integrated art curriculum is being developed by this CBSE and at UGC. I've attended a whole seminar on this. that how art is not just limiting it to a hobby class or just but integrating it into learning other subjects as well. So art approach, that how to think creatively, how to observe, be a good observer, and all those qualities which an artist requires, actually those are the qualities which is required for any learning. The sense of wonderment, curiosity. uh, if you inculcate these habits, it's good for any learning anything. So learning has to begin with curiosity. And what happens now is that we are stuffed with so much information and so much this thing, that the creative process is lost somewhere, and then you forget everything what you learn. So if you imbibe some of these things, a lot of work is going into it.
Ma'am, another question. You have always been a keen advocate, and the way you've spoken today about connecting with nature. Uh, do you think there needs to be special work with young children to reinforce this bond? I think probably when you grew up in a landscape which was already wild or very natural in its surrounding, and versus kids that are growing up today are probably very disconnected with, they would know which. So there's this, I'm slightly digressing, but there's this term called plant blindness. It essentially means that if you ask a today's generation kid where the next McDonald's is, the closest one to his house, he would know that. But if you ask him where the next Gulmohar tree is, I'm sure he can't.
Absolutely.
So with young kids, it has been my attempt with wildlife tourism and doing nature activities. But beyond that, do you think there are any things that people can specifically undertake in their own backyard, especially with the whole pandemic being stuck in their houses and stuff, to reconnect with nature? What is the thing? How do you connect with nature? I'm sure Devrai already is a wild place, but still, what are your practices? How do you just connect and bond?
So, see, all this connecting with nature, sadly, what we are told are the don'ts. Don't this thing, uh, don't cut trees. But there's not enough emphasis on planting. What about positive measures which you can do? So, like I've been trying to create awareness on this practice of burning the hill slopes. So after a point, I really thought that this is good. You have to stop and you have to create awareness on the ill effects of Vanva, or the burning. But how about also people devoting the forest department and the local people and the villagers, tell them that looking after the environment is not indulgence, it's the need of the hour. And the children today, as somebody has rightly put, is they're suffering from nature deficit disorder. So all this kind of things where you have short attention span and agitated mind, and this quick response thing, on they're constantly on screen games and this kind of communication, people need to have that pause, that reflective pause, which nature and this, uh, like you mentioned, COVID. Yes, COVID is making us think that nature. See, another thing which I would really like to, now that you're talking about children's education, even when you have everyone, we have environmental science in school, but look at the way it is taught. And I would say that, why should everything be seen from the human point of view? Why should everything be homocentric? When you talk of conservation of nature, you talk about it as conservation of natural resources. Ultimate consumer is the human being. Ari Baba, you are just a strand in this entire web of connection, and you are not the predator on top of the pyramid. This the child should understand. What about conserving wilderness as an end in itself? The forest. उससे तो उनको कुछ नहीं मिलता है, पर the tiger, look at the beauty of that magnificent animal. It will soon turn into a myth if we don't take care of its habitat. So just the tiger will remain in stories, but we need to, and for that you have to inspire. You have to actually not just inspire with work, I suppose. All the parents. It's not that it is a school thing. It has to be. It has to come from all corners, whether it is through art, films, books, exposure of the child, because today a child is so cut off. I have seen people, when you ask a child very innocently, if you ask where the water comes from, he says it comes from the tap. So the mystery of water, does it come from the ground? Does it come from the thing? Let him touch upon these, so that sense of the sacred, that nature is not something for your use only. Not at all, in fact. I would just say that, it should be the other way around.
Great, ma'am. Ma'am, one last question. So we were speaking about COVID. So I
Yeah,
thought,
before I forget, one
yes,
little
please.
thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So with this in mind, in fact, like I showed you this wild plant. So Cast Plateau, we are actually, when kids come, we are for a workshop and all, we are asking them to make uh, a specific exact replication of the botanical thing and giving them information. And through this little peephole, get them introduced to biodiversity, to the fragility in nature. कि तुम इसको खत्म कर रहे हो, ये वापस नहीं आने वाला है. ये फॉरेस्ट एक बार खत्म हो जाता है. You make a road, you cannot get back the trees you've cut. You may plant 1,000 more trees, but the trees which were 100 years old, you cannot replicate a forest. So that is that has to be inculcated, and right from childhood, as you rightly said, Deepti, right from childhood. Otherwise, it's too late. One just doesn't realize. We just don't realize that how essential it has become.
Ma'am, speaking of COVID, I wanted to ask you the last question. So you mentioned about the artifacts and you showed us quite a few of them. If someone is interested in buying any of them, since probably coming to Devrai in the near future might be a task, is there a way that they can connect with you and probably look at buying and you can look at
Yeah, that
couriering or
would be that is really our need. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel, and no buyers, nothing, and I'm getting frantic calls from my craftsmen कि हमको कुछ काम दो, because only then I can send them some advance as to buy the raw material and all. So please, you can connect with us and things which and if you want, and now the festive season is coming, anything you want in order, corporate gifts, whatever, which we can then get it made, and cards, whatever.
Right.
We have quite a repertoire of corporate gifts and other things, specified, customized this thing also, even furniture. We recently, in fact, we experimenting with resin and embedding brass in it. So all kinds of things. If you have a look at our Facebook page, you'll see the amount of new things we are doing, and whatever we can customize, and we would be really happy and more than happy, thankful, grateful. Please, we are going through a crisis. We are really going through a crisis.
Yes. So I'll request all the speakers, if they are not aware of the Facebook page, I'll post the link to the page of Devrai Art Village, and as well as ma'am's profile. You can connect with her directly and you can reach out to her and see how you can engage. In case you work for a company, or in case you work for a school or any other organization, so to say, you can always refer your organization and spread the message. I'm sure you all have had a fantastic session listening to ma'am, and I think we need to all help ma'am and the artisans involved by doing a bit and seeing how we can collaborate. So I think there was one last question which had come in at the very end. I'll just quickly try and there's a question which says how to be done with the work we wish, how to keep that willpower till we are done with the job. Okay. Ma'am, over to you.
No, I didn't get the question.
Ma'am, the question is, when we are trying to do a work which is our probably a passion project or a dream job, how do we keep sustaining in terms of the willpower till it's done?
Well, first of all, the work itself will keep you hooked, I suppose, and that's how it'll get done. But one perseverance is something which is needed, and self-discipline also.
Right.
But they say perspiration and inspiration both 50-50 is what will accomplish a particular work
Right.
which you have taken.
Okay. So, ma'am, there are no more further questions. So I leave it to you to give us a message. I have already urged everybody to connect with you regarding buying
boy.
artifacts and doing something. So if you want to just give a message, and then we can close the session. Anything you want to say to the audience?
I feel that as in this thing, person involved with art and all, and even otherwise, Indian culture and Indian spirituality has been the raw material for all my creative expressions, whether it is film or this. And I feel we know so little about ourselves. We need to explore our roots, and the youth is deracinated. Not just the youth, even my generation, and I'm one of them. It's just that I think it's my good fortune that I've now after maybe I think uh, this stage in life one has begun to. But how enriching it would be if we find out a little more about ourselves with little curiosity, love. It's only what the West it comes back we then take, you know, uh, then consider it worth. That's such so. It's a pity. It's a pity.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful session. It has opened up like so many our the mind, the way we connect or look at the nature, the way we look at the artifacts, the way we look at the so-called tribal communities. It is like a totally eye opener for I think everyone. And as we are totally inspired by you, we promise to do our bit of actually connecting our next generation and getting back to the nature and letting them actually appreciate and understand what nature is all about. So thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful, enriching and insightful session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All the best to both of you for your future endeavors. You are on the right path. Plod on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, Thank you, everyone, for this attending the wonderful session. For coming Saturday, we have another yet wonderful speaker who will actually take you to the small village of Palghar district and get you a glimpse of what actually happens or what is the real life of Parli tribes. So stay tuned and keep following our page. And you can also subscribe and follow our Instagram IDs. So one is Soulfull Journeys and Aranyachar. Thank you so much and goodbye and stay safe. Good night.
Goodbye.